Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
What are we reviewing today?
This is a TOPDON
EV charger? Didn't we review an EV charger by TOPDON?
We did, but no, this is a thermal camera.
What does that have to do with electric stuff?
A lot. You're gonna find out next on Now Let's Review.
Okay, so don't click away. This has nothing to do with e-bikes or e-scooters, but this is actually really cool and you're gonna wanna check out this video.
It has everything to do with them.
Really?
It has everything to do with everything.
Okay, so first of all, what is it?
This is a thermal imaging camera. So I don't know if you can see there, but you can see me and you can see the temperature of my face.
Yeah, this is the TOPDON TC004 handheld thermal imaging camera. As you're seeing here, we're walking around just in our house, right? And we're kind of seeing what this does, and this can see temperature differences.
Yes, so it's able to tell you what the temperature of something that you're looking at is. You've probably seen this before, like in Predator, the movie Predator, or anytime, you know, some kind of futuristic spy gadget of like, boing, and they're all moving in.
Got nothing on Starlight. Switching to thermal. Okay. Yeah.
So isn't this wicked expensive?
No, actually. This is $369. So it's not cheap, but this...
But wait. When you were working at a big engineering firm, you spent, I thought, thousands of dollars to get something like this.
Oh yeah, I mean, my first interaction with any thermal imaging camera was, I believe, an $1,800 unit, which it was actually worse than this one. I remember using it for all sorts of engineering purposes, but it was transformative to me to understand heat transfer and thermodynamics.
How is this $369 and it's better? But when you say better, can you give me some stats here? Like, can you compare it?
Sure. So let's compare this to the closest in price FLIR camera. FLIR, if you don't know, is kind of the standard for thermal imaging. The closest FLIR is $449, so a little bit more expensive. But that one is a 70 millikelvin temperature differential. This one is a 40 millikelvin. That's just sensitivity. That's the difference in temperature that it's able to perceive.
Oh, so this is almost twice as sensitive?
Twice as sensitive, and what that means is if something is just a little bit warmer, a little bit cooler, this will pick it up and display it to you. And you might be going like, who cares about little temperature differences? I care about big temperature differences, but this has applications outside of what I thought a thermal camera could do because it's so sensitive.
So what else does this beat the FLIR on?
Sensitivity, again, like I mentioned. Also, this allows you to have an SD card in it. So that means that you could be swapping out SD cards if you were filming all day.
Oh, you can film on this?
Yes, so not only does it allow you to look, it also allows you to take pictures. It also allows you...
So the footage we're seeing right now is actual video that we shot on this?
Exactly. You don't have to hold up a phone or a camera to this to kind of measure what you're doing. It's able to record it, and it even has software that you can install on a computer where you can take that footage and then analyze it after the fact.
Wow.
So it's really... You're getting the whole package. I'm very impressed with what they're able to give you. The other thing is the battery life is about 12 hours on this thing.
The FLIR only gets you, I think, 4 hours.
4 hours. I remember having to charge that thing up all the time.
And so is this, you have to change the batteries out, or is this rechargeable?
This is USB-C right at the top, so...
Oh, so lithium ion.
Yeah, you charge it just like your phone, and it lasts...
12 hours?
12 hours running.
Wow.
Yeah, so a really great battery life.
What's the object temperature range? So what can you film the coldest and the hottest?
This can go all the way from -4 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 662 degrees Fahrenheit. Now,
can you give that to me in Celsius?
Yes, I can. -20 degrees Celsius all the way up to 350 degrees Celsius. So you're not going to be measuring like fires with it. Although
we did, though.
We did. You can set this. This has two different modes: a low temperature and a high temperature. Most of the time, you're going to be in the low temperature unless you're doing like, I don't know, glass blowing. But you can measure, you know, hot stuff if you really needed to.
So, and are there any other comparisons to the more expensive FLIR camera?
This has a slightly wider field of view, which means that you don't have to be as far away from something to measure it. This is really well built. It's made out of plastic, but I feel like I could, you know, bludgeon someone with it.
Well, yeah, it's IP54, so you can actually drop it 2 meters. It's meant to take an abuse.
Yeah.
And also it's dust and waterproof.
It's got a tripod mount on the bottom, so if you wanted to record a long video and see how thermal cycling was happening, you can set it up like that. It can take up to 16 gigabytes of micro SD. Now, micro SDs do come in larger sizes, but you're gonna get a lot of footage out of a micro SD.
Right, because the resolution isn't that high. Right. I also wanted to point out that the USB-C can also be used to plug this into a computer so that you can see on screen, so you can be showing a client something while you're, holding it, or a classroom. So we're showing you on screen what's called the iron palette of colors, but you can actually change that, right?
Yes, so you come in here, you head over to what's called palette, and then you can change it to rainbow.
I like rainbow.
Rainbow is nice. It gives a lot more colors. You can see what's hot. You can see what's cold. Iron gives it a bit more of kind of the glowing, as if everything was iron and it was glowing. You also have white hot and black hot, which makes it look like you're seeing some kind of drone footage from a war zone. I kind of like the iron, but I can see why you'd like the rainbow, because it has different striations of color.
One thing I really like about this is that there's 3 little dots on the screen, right? And so one dot is moving around showing you what's the coldest thing on the screen, one dot is showing you the hottest thing on the screen, and then there's that center dot, which is what you're pointing at. And it tells you the temp of each of those 3 things.
Exactly. So without having to be super precise, because you've had one of those looks very similar to this, and it shoots out a little laser, and that laser is showing you where it's seeing one temperature reading. You don't know exactly what you're pointing at, and so you're like, it's hot in there. This is hot. This thing is hot. Here, you're seeing what the hottest thing is and where it is. Because a lot of times, even when I'm looking at the screen, I'm gonna miss that it's this fiery hot little thing, and you go like, oh, there's something warm.
The other thing I really like about this is there's this auto sensitivity feature. So basically, if there's only a few degrees spread in the screen that you're looking at, like let's say your hand compared to the table, it's still gonna show you this full color spread to make it easier to pick apart those different items that you're looking at.
Right, nothing is ever going to be blown out, which I think is really important. But it also means that when you're looking at something that's almost the same temperature, it's going to start to get really sensitive and show you those minute differences in a much wider spread, which leads to a lot of the uses that I didn't think that a thermal camera could help you with.
Yeah, let's walk through that. So what you're going to see right now is some footage of us kind of both, well, we're going to split the screen here. So you're going to see on one side just what it looks like to our naked eye, and then you're going to see what this is seeing. So the first thing that we did was just kind of the fun thing, water in the kitchen, right?
I love this. This is such an amazing visual to see what water looks like mixing. When you're looking at the bowl, right, and just it's clear water going in, and it doesn't matter if it's hot or cold, it looks exactly the same. When you're looking through the camera, you're actually getting to see the mixing, the complexity of the universe.
And I mean, this has so many implications. You could use this, for teaching, but you could also use it for cooking. You could use it if you're mixing some kind of weird epoxy. Like there's so many different things you could use this for.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to, we just happened to be looking at an HVAC vent. And a lot of times, if you're a contractor, for instance, or a homeowner, you want to know, is this vent working? What's the temperature? And instead of having to go there with a thermometer or reach up to the ceiling with a ladder.
Or feel, oh, I think it's cold.
You just point this at it.
This will tell you.
Next, I would just say, like, if you want to be a detective, you can see where someone just walked across the floor. This is amazing because those were my sneakers on a hot summer day. And so the temperature difference was very slight, and yet you could see me.
Predator mode. Literally, like you're hunting down Arnold Schwarzenegger using this.
I mean, you could use, I guess, for hunting and for tracking and for sleuthing.
Exactly. Finding creatures in your house.
Yeah, I mean, look at my handprint right here. Like that was just this.
There's 2 seconds of that. Yeah.
So you can see where someone just was. This astounded me. Okay, so I have this digital piano and I wasn't playing it for 2 days, right? And so that thing shouldn't have been on.
It was off. You shut off the piano.
It has been off for 2 days. It's not like I just played it. You walked over and saw that thing was at 104 degrees.
So the wall wart, there's a transformer in there where it's stepping down the voltage.
But I thought that would only be using power when the piano was on.
Exactly. So there's a lot of these things in your house, and if you're a person who owns a house and you pay for the electricity, obviously you're trying to reduce how much energy you spend. And you hear that like televisions use power when they're not turned on. But here is this wall wart sitting on the floor, just pumping out heat.
But here's the other thing, it's summer right now.
Yeah.
I'm paying for AC, and then this thing is a mini heater heating the space. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so
I'm gonna go unplug it.
Exactly. So this can be used to identify things in your house, not only like insulation issues, but also, yeah, things that are running that probably shouldn't be running so hot.
Well, let's walk over to my stereo right now where I've got a speaker. I didn't know it was pumping out heat.
Right.
My cable box is like a heater. My PlayStation, like all these things are hot.
Right. No,
Not to mention my Wi-Fi switch.
And like
that's like a toaster.
Sure. At least the Wi-Fi, we're using constantly. The cable box.
It was off.
When was the last time you've actually watched cable?
Exactly. But it was burning hot.
It's burning hot, and that energy has to come from somewhere, and it's coming from your electric bill.
Same thing with my Wi-Fi speakers.
Exactly.
Like they're not even on. Okay, let's walk over to a window. This is an obvious one. It's a hot summer day, and you can see all the heat coming in.
Yes, and you can also see what happens when you put a curtain in front of that. You're seeing that you're actually rejecting some heat back out the window. That's one way that you can keep your house cool, and you can actually see the effects of it with this device.
Before we go any further, I just want to talk about something you mentioned to me before this episode, where you went to school for this kind of stuff. You had a whole classes on thermodynamics.
Yeah, I took thermodynamics and I took heat transfer, and for both of those classes, I needed a textbook each. I spent more on textbooks to learn about thermodynamics and heat transfer than this costs. Now, there's a whole bunch of equations and useful things in there to be able to like somehow understand thermodynamics, but I never understood a single thing that was taught in either of those two classes throughout my entire engineering school. The moment I picked up one of these and I was able to look around and be like, oh, the heat is moving through an object. Wow, you can take, a piece of metal and hold it and you'll see that the temperature heats up down the length of it. Oh, it has thermal conductivity. You can pick up a piece of wood. It doesn't do that. Oh, it's less thermally conductive.
I always got stuck on the difference between, convection and conduction and
radiation.
And I was just like, but then you're right. As soon as we started playing with this, I got it like intuitively.
This is, a bionic thing that you're adding to your brain, going like, that's what temperature looks like. I know that this is kind of a silly point, but I really think that if you are someone who has to learn about anything to do with thermodynamics or heat transfer, or if you're just a person, this stuff affects you all the time.
Yeah.
With cooking, with your heating and cooling your house. Anytime anything's hot or cold, this is going to be a really important thing. It helped me conceptualize what all of this stuff that I was learning is, and instantly clicked in my brain.
Like, let's go to this window unit that we're looking at right now. It's like so easy to see, like, oh, that's how it works.
Right, and then you can go to the other side. So we looked at a split unit, AC unit, and so the outside is hot and the inside is cool, right? Because a heat pump is taking heat energy from inside your house, collecting it, and then pumps it outside of your house and gets hot and is rejecting the heat to the outside. You have to learn this. Like, it's hard to wrap your head around it. Once you see it, you're like, that thing hot, that thing cold. Me get.
Again, us playing with the shower just to see some hot water. I like this one. You pointed out that I had a leak in my AC plenum.
Yeah.
In my heat plenum. So like, that's something I never would have spotted. And because it's this little, like you barely feel it, but you saw it with the gun. So I can go repeir that now.
Exactly. And that was a very small one. But you could imagine you forget to fill in some gap in some piece of something.
Homeowners definitely, but contractors definitely. Because before you close up those walls, contractors, this will find that problem for you in 2 seconds. You're not going to have to spend all day, feeling everything.
Well, and to switch back to being a homeowner, we were able to identify that your attic door lets in a ton of heat during the summer and probably lets a bunch of heat out during the winter.
Right.
So insulating that door a little bit better would probably save you some money on your heating.
Exactly. It's going to show you those low-hanging fruit, which I think is going to pay for this unit probably in the first year, just insulation.
Right. Now, obviously you have to go insulate those places, but
then you're not wasting time insulating things that you may not need to insulate first. Like if that's your hole in the ceiling, that's worth doing.
Well, and there's so many homes where that they forgot, they ran out of insulation for the day and they just buttoned it up. They didn't go run and grab another roll of insulation. And that means that you are dumping money out of a hole in your house, basically.
I mean, you can look at your clothes dryer. There's just fun things to look at. Look at the skylight. Look at this e-bike. So you looked at an e-bike just to show us that like the motor's getting hot, the tires might be getting hot, and also the brakes are getting hot. Like that's really cool. How about this one? You're trying to find a stud, right, in a wall. Like you want to install something or you want to make sure they built it correctly. If the temperature differential is enough, and this was like a hot day, so you can see that it comes through the stud last, we could see the studs.
This is, look, if you've ever looked for a stud in a wall before, you know that you can get the little unit and it goes like beep, beep, and then you start putting it along and it goes beep, and then, oh, that's where the stud is, I think, and you mark it, and then you do it again and it goes beep, and you're like, but that's not the same spot. And you're like, then you do it the third time and you're like, it's somewhere over here. Right. And then if you wanted to do the next stud over, you have to beep, beep, you know, that takes forever, and you don't really know where everything is. Here, you can just look at a wall and be like, I know where all the studs are. And you're like, oh, why do they frame it like that? Mm-hmm. What? As if there's no drywall on it whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like you have some kind of X-ray vision.
It's X-ray vision, practically.
We walked it inside our new solar trailer that we're building just to see that, like, wow, those metal rafters are like heaters.
Yes.
We insulated around them, but like that's still a problem.
Yes. We also brought this into our brand new Rivian, and we saw that they did a really crappy job of installing the heat tape that goes in the heated seats.
Yeah.
There's like 2 wires that are heating up way more than anything else.
They're heating up this part of your butt that you don't probably want heated so much.
It's like, why is my left butt cheek burning and the rest of me is cold?
And then I just want to point out, we just converted an EV, we converted a 1975 MG Midget, and one really cool part about this is we're not sure if we're going to have to cool the batteries or if we're going to have to cool the motor controller. With this, we can fire it up, we can see where the heat flow is, and we can see like, oh, you know what, maybe we should cool the motor controller.
Yeah. To get back to walls and stuff like that, we've been talking about how you can see studs. This also allows you to see wires. We were able to look at an electrical panel and see which.
Right.
Like, because most electrical panels are not smart. And are you going to really buy one of those kilowatt things and go plug it into every single outlet in your house? No, you're going to miss something somewhere.
No, there was a breaker that I'm like, I don't even think that we're pulling that much juice through it, but it was really hot.
We're like, oh, it's outlets
investigate.
For this room. Well, what's running in that room? I thought there was no one using anything in there.
Right. So very quickly we can go check that out, as opposed to it would have taken us all day to find that.
And if you're smart about it, you can find pipes, you can find wires in walls where it's like, I don't know where I ran that pipe, or I don't know where that wire
Look,
is.
if you're a plumber, you need one.
Right.
If you're an electrician, you need one. If you're a contractor, insulator, I mean, almost any of the trades, I would have one of these as a tool, because you may not use it for a few days or weeks, but when you need something like that, this diagnostic tool is probably going to save you.
And I have to be honest, this is so nice and sensitive.
I feel like we're doing one of those like commercials.
I know.
Those infomercials.
Look,
but honestly,
we were not paid to do this review.
No.
We did get the unit for free, but I mean, honestly, this thing blew me away. I was expecting this to be kind of a piece of garbage knockoff trash.
Yeah.
And it absolutely is not. This is a tool. This is something that I am glad to own, because I know that it's going to come in handy someday when I need to find anything.
Well, look, if you're a homeowner and you want to see if there's critters living in your house,
exactly,
like, you can easily see like a mouse crawling through your wall. There's so many things you can do with this because it is so sensitive. And I just feel like we haven't even scratched the surface of what you can figure out. Leaks. We were just walking around today and we saw this spot that's like, why is that so cold?
Why is it cold?
And I'm like, oh, that's where it usually leaks. So it's probably wet right now.
Right. It rained yesterday, and now we get to see that there's a leak in the house.
And knowing exactly where it is means I can fix it so much cheaper than if I have to rip apart more. So just that alone is going to save me more than the price of this unit.
And that's the wonderful thing about it, is that it's so versatile. You can use it for so many different things. And I don't know. I think that also any person who wants to learn a little bit more about how insulation works and stuff like that, this is such a wonderful tool. I remember at the Museum of Science, we had basically one of these set up, and we had a whole unit based around the camera where we're trying to show that, You put different insulations on a house and it's able to insulate better. This is an educational tool as well. I think teachers can use it too.
Exactly. If you're a school system, whether you're high school or college, I would get one of these for your science unit because you can, share this among your classes and you can teach kids so much better. They're going to intuitively, first of all, they're going to get to use it.
Yeah.
They're going to get to hold it and point it at their friends and be like, your tongue is hot. That's going to teach them so much more than being like, open your textbooks in chapter 15. So I think if you're a school, you should really get one of these.
Oh, I just think it's so amazing. It's just so nice to have something that can go click in your brain.
Right.
I'm trying to think of other things that are like that, where you get to see the world in this completely new way.
Well, and these have been around for a while. I mean, professionals watching right now are like, yeah, I know about that. Yeah, but it was so expensive that only you could afford it if your business had a reason for it. I remember I was a contractor, I was also a home inspector, and I thought this would be a great tool to have, but every time I looked it up, I'm like, I can't afford thousands of dollars for that tool. Now, I think it's really in a price range where you can't not get it.
Yeah.
Because I think that, home inspector, walk into a home. Normally you go, well, I don't know what's behind the wall and I'm not going to tear it apart to tell you, so we'll never know.
Right.
Now you go, oh, well, I think this is how they framed it and I think that there's a pipe right there.
Yeah. Now, we, a while ago, got a unit that plugs into your phone to try and do the same thing, and it was the biggest piece of crap. It had no definition.
Right.
It was just like big blobby blobs. This, I can just tell everything. It is so precise.
Yep.
So I really think that this is the way to go, as opposed to going for something cheaper.
Your body. You could do a workout and see what parts of your body are getting hot. You could see like, oh, that parka that I just bought isn't really cutting it, and here's why. Like, you're going to become a heat detective.
We found out that one of your water bottles, the insulation had been broken.
That's right.
And it was like, because we put hot water in both and we were looking, and one of them got hot, which means that the heat is escaping, which means that it's going to cool off faster.
Yep.
And in the other one, it stayed looking cold, which means that the heat is stuck inside.
Right, and there's no way to tell that because it's a stainless steel vacuum sealed thing, so this was the only way to tell why that was broken. Exactly. There's just so many cool uses for this thing, and I think if for nothing else, even if it doesn't save you any money, just the amount of learning you're going to do is going to be worth it.
Yeah. Because then you don't even really need it, but you do to see the actual temperatures. But you can imagine how things are going to work.
You'll start to understand how heat transfer works better, and it'll make you a better engineer. It'll make you a better homeowner. I just think there's so many cool facets. This is something I think going forward, we're all going to be like, how do we live without this tool?
And so now when you tell people about, oh, there's a draft coming under some door, you can show it to people and they go, oh, that's cold or that's hot. We need to fix that.
Exactly.
Oh, it's just so exciting. I urge you to get this just because I think it's so awesome.
Yeah, we'll put a link down below in the show notes so you can find it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. Hit the like button if you liked our episode, and let us know some comments. Let us know what you liked about this episode or what you want us to review, because we're here for you.
We'll see you next time on Now Let's Review.